Your dog is asleep right now. Or maybe they were an hour ago, curled into a tiny ball, stretched across the floor, pressed tightly against your leg, or lying completely upside down without a care in the world. Most owners see these positions and think they're simply comfortable. But what if they're actually messages? What if the way your dog sleeps is revealing something about how safe they feel? How much they trust you? What kind of personality they have? And even clues about their physical and emotional health. Because while dogs can't speak our language, they never stop communicating. Even when they're asleep, the position your dog chooses night after night is often connected to instincts that are thousands of years old. Instincts inherited from wild ancestors. Instincts that reveal hidden emotions most owners never notice. And some of these meanings are surprisingly touching. In fact, one sleeping position near the end of this video may completely change the way you see your relationship with your dog. Stay with me, because after this video, you'll never look at your sleeping dog the same way again. On this channel, we uncover the hidden language of dogs, the subtle behaviors, the silent signals, the small things that reveal what's really happening inside your dog's mind. Today, we're decoding something every dog owner sees, but very few truly understand: your dog's sleeping position. And the first one may already be happening in your home tonight. 1. The donut position. You've seen it countless times. Your dog curls into a tight little ball, their tail wraps around their body, their nose disappears beneath their chest. From above, they almost look like a furry donut. Most owners assume this simply means their dog is cold. And sometimes, that's true. But here's what most people don't know. This position is one of the oldest survival instincts dogs still carry. Long before dogs slept on soft beds and warm carpets, their ancestors slept outdoors. Curled tightly like this protected their most vulnerable organs. It conserved body heat and reduced exposure to predators. Thousands of years later, that instinct still exists, even in the safest homes. Emotionally, this position often reflects a dog that is naturally cautious, not fearful, not unhappy, simply thoughtful, careful, observant. These dogs tend to assess situations before fully relaxing. They're often deeply loyal once trust is earned, but they don't hand that trust out freely. If your dog frequently sleeps this way, they may be telling you something important. They feel safe enough to rest, but a small part of them still prefers keeping their defenses ready. And that's not a flaw, it's part of who they are. Now here's where things get interesting. The next sleeping position is almost the complete opposite, and what it reveals about trust is fascinating. 2. The belly up position. This position always makes people smile. A dog sleeping completely on their back, belly exposed, paws in the air, looking utterly ridiculous. Most people think it's simply funny, but the truth is much deeper than that. The belly is one of the most vulnerable areas on a dog's body. In the wild, exposing it would be incredibly risky. Which means something remarkable has happened when your dog sleeps this way. They've lowered every defense, every instinct, every protective barrier. For a dog to sleep belly up, they need to feel extraordinarily secure. They're essentially saying, I don't believe there's any danger here. Think about that. Of all the places in the world your dog could sleep, they chose yours. And they chose complete vulnerability. That level of trust isn't accidental. It's earned. These dogs are often naturally confident. comfortable in their environment, emotionally secure, and deeply bonded to the people around them. But there's another hidden detail. Dogs also use this position to cool down. The thinner fur around the belly helps release heat. So sometimes, confidence and comfort are working together. If your dog sleeps belly up near you, they're revealing something powerful. They're not just resting, they're surrendering completely to safety and trust. Like that is one of the greatest gifts a dog can give. But the next sleeping position reveals something even more personal. Because it's not about where your dog sleeps, it's about who they choose to sleep beside. 3. Leaning against you. Some dogs have an entire bed available, a couch, a blanket, an open room. Yet somehow they end up touching you every single time. Maybe their back is pressed against your leg. Maybe their head rests on your foot. Maybe they're practically glued to your side. Most owners think this means their dog is clingy. But that's only part of the story. The truth is much more emotional. Physical contact during sleep is one of the strongest indicators of social bonding in mammals. Sleep is when animals are most vulnerable, which means proximity matters a lot. When your dog chooses to sleep touching you, they're not simply seeking warmth, they're choosing security, they're choosing connection, they're choosing you. In canine psychology, sleeping beside someone is often reserved for trusted members of the social group, the inner circle, the family, the individuals they believe will protect them if danger appears. Your dog isn't saying, "I need a place to sleep." They're saying, "This is where I feel safest." And that's a very different message. Now, the next position is one most owners misunderstand completely. And it could reveal more about your dog's emotional state than you realize. 4. The side sleeper. This is one of the most common sleeping positions, and one of the most revealing. Your dog lies completely on their side. Body stretched naturally. Muscles relaxed, breathing slow and steady. Nothing looks unusual, but that's exactly why it's so important. Most owners overlook this position. Yet behavior experts often consider it one of the strongest signs of comfort and emotional security. Here's why. When dogs sleep on their side, major muscle groups relax completely. That level of relaxation only happens when the brain believes the environment is safe. Safe enough to enter deeper stages of sleep. Safe enough to dream. Safe enough to fully let go. And yes, your dog probably is dreaming. You may notice paw twitches, tiny barks, gentle tail movements, rapid eye movement beneath closed eyelids. All signs that their sleeping brain is active, processing memories, experiences, and emotional connections. Dogs that frequently sleep on their side often have calm, trusting personalities. They're comfortable with their surroundings, comfortable with their family, and comfortable being themselves. But remember this, a relaxed sleeping dog isn't just comfortable in a house, they're comfortable in a relationship. And that distinction matters, because our next sleeping position reveals something hidden that many owners mistake for affection, when it's actually something entirely different. And once you understand it, you'll start seeing your dog's behavior through completely new eyes. 5. The guard position. Have you ever wondered why your dog refuses to sleep in the softest spot in the room? Why they ignore the expensive bed, ignore the couch, ignore the blanket, and instead choose a doorway, a hallway, or a place where they can see everything? Most owners assume it's just a habit, but habits usually have a reason. And this one goes back much further than most people realize. Because for generations, dogs survived by remaining aware of their surroundings, not constantly alert, not constantly anxious, simply positioned where they could respond if something changed. Even today, many dogs instinctively choose sleeping locations that give them a view of entrances and exits. It's not because they're expecting danger, it's because their instincts were built for responsibility, and some dogs take that responsibility very seriously. These are often the dogs who seem naturally protective, the dogs who notice unusual sounds first, the dogs who quietly place themselves between their family and uncertainty. What's fascinating is that they rarely see it as work. They're simply doing what feels natural. And if your dog sleeps near the entrance to a room, near your bedroom door, or in a location where they can monitor the home, they may not be guarding the house, they may be guarding the people inside it. Now, that doesn't mean every doorway sleeper is a protector, but it does reveal something important. Even while resting, part of your dog's mind remains connected to the family they love. And what happens next may be one of the most fascinating parts of canine sleep. Because while your dog appears completely still, an entire world may be unfolding inside their mind. 6. The dreamer. Every dog owner has seen it. A sleeping paw suddenly jerks, an ear twitches, the tail begins to wag, a tiny bark escapes from nowhere. And for a moment, it feels like your dog has travelled somewhere else entirely. Because in a way, they have. For years, people wondered whether dogs actually dream. Today we know they do, and the implications are extraordinary. Just like humans, dogs experience stages of sleep where the brain becomes highly active. Memories are processed, experiences are replayed, emotions are organized. The body rests, but the mind keeps working. What's especially fascinating is what scientists believe dogs may be dreaming about. The things that matter most to them, the activities they repeat, the experiences they love, the individuals they spend their lives with. Think about that for a moment. When your dog is dreaming, there's a very real possibility that you're part of the story. Maybe they're reliving a walk, a game of fetch, a car ride, a moment when they felt excited, safe, loved. Nobody can know exactly what a dog sees inside a dream. But we do know this. Dreams are built from life, and you are a major part of your dog's life, which means you may also be part of their sleeping world. But now we're moving into something even more personal. Because some dogs don't simply sleep near the people they trust. They sleep directly on them. And what that means is often misunderstood. 7. The human pillow. There are dogs who sleep beside you, and then there are dogs who seem determined to become part of you. They use your legs as a mattress, your shoulder as a pillow, your chest as their favourite place in the world. At first, it feels almost comical. Why choose a perfectly good bed when a human will do? But the answer reveals something beautiful. Because physical contact means far more to dogs than most people realise. Touch is reassurance. Touch is connection. Touch is communication without words. When your dog sleeps directly against you, or on top of you, they're surrounding themselves with the thing that makes them feel safest. You. And perhaps the most touching part is this. They don't need anything from you in that moment. No food, no toy, no command, no reward. They're asleep. The relationship itself is enough. And that tells us something remarkable about the bond dogs form with the people they love. But the next sleeping behavior changes everything. Because it isn't about where your dog sleeps. It's about what happens when you leave. 8. The follower. Watch your dog tonight, not while they're asleep, but right before they fall asleep. Notice where they choose to be. Notice how often they move. Notice how often those movements bring them closer to you. Many dogs don't select a sleeping spot once. They adjust, relocate, follow. And that behavior reveals something powerful. Your dog isn't simply choosing a location. They're choosing a connection. They aren't asking themselves, where is the most comfortable place? They're often asking, where are my people? Because dogs evolved as social animals. Being near trusted companions mattered. It increased safety. It strengthened bonds. It created stability. And although thousands of years have passed, that emotional wiring remains. For many dogs, your location matters more than the location itself. The room matters less than the person. The bed matters less than the bond. And once you understand that, a lot of canine behavior suddenly makes sense. But we've saved the most emotional revelation for last, because it explains why sleep may be one of the purest expressions of trust your dog can ever offer. Here's something most people never think about. When your dog is awake, they're constantly making decisions, watching, listening, responding, reading the world around them. But sleep is different. Sleep requires faith. Faith that nothing bad is about to happen. Faith that someone is watching over them. Faith that they can let go. And that's what makes a sleeping dog so beautiful. For a few hours every day, they place complete trust in their environment, complete trust in their family, complete trust in the people they've chosen to love. When a dog truly sleeps, really sleeps, they are revealing something deeper than comfort. They are revealing confidence, security, belonging, and perhaps the greatest compliment they can ever give another living being. Trust. Not because they have to, because they've decided you earned it. And if you share your life with a dog, that trust is being given to you every single day, quietly, without words, without expectations, without conditions. Sometimes the strongest expression of love isn't excitement. It isn't barking. It isn't tail wagging. Sometimes it's a dog peacefully falling asleep beside someone they trust with their entire world. And that's a remarkable thing. Tonight, before you go to bed, take one extra look at your dog. Notice where they choose to sleep. Notice how they position themselves. Notice who they choose to be near. Because what looks like an ordinary moment may actually be telling a much bigger story. A story about trust. A story about personality. A story about safety. And a story about the incredible relationship you share. Now I want to hear from you. What sleeping position does your dog choose most often? Are they a burrower? A side sleeper? A guard? Or do they insist on using you as a mattress? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoy discovering the hidden psychology behind canine behavior, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because every week we uncover the fascinating secrets dogs have been telling us all along. Until next time, give your dog a little extra love and thank them for trusting you enough to close their eyes.